broadcast here. So I believe we're all now live. So those of you who are joining us on Zoom, come on in and say hello. And those of you who are on Facebook, it's good to see you all again. And I'm absolutely deeply honored to be joined by Ines Schaefer tonight. And I'm sure I've butchered your name, Ines, or Ines, but I'm sure you'll forgive me. I know I'm not the only one that over all of your time in America, especially in Alabama, I'm sure it's been butchered way more than I've just done. But thank you so much for joining us, because you have an absolutely amazing story to tell. And I know you're going to be an inspiration to so many people who watch this live and on the replay. But I just want to go back in time a bit. No, actually, before we go back in time, let's start now. So I think you're our first guest from Germany, the powerhouse of Europe. And I suppose some people will say that's a little bit unusual, and others will say it's not very unusual. But photography is different in Germany. But before we get into that, let's just talk about COVID and where you guys are now in Germany and what's happening where you're located in Germany.
Well, we moved close to Düsseldorf, which is close to Cologne. I'm not sure how familiar everybody is with geography. I'm not very familiar with it. So we moved there pretty much 3 years ago, moved back from the States, and I found a little studio place in my new hometown, which is like 30,000 people living here, and did build my studio there. And we settled down here to be here now in Germany.
So Ines, and I was at your studio opening 2 years ago. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a little moment. But with regards to pandemic and COVID, is Germany open now, or is there parts of it closed? And where are you? Is your business open again?
Well, my business is open again since middle of May. So in Germany, we slowly started reopening after shutdown in May, I think. Well, beginning of May, when slowly everything started to open up again. And so did my business as well a couple of weeks later, because due to how I did structure my business, I was relying on my freelancers, and they weren't allowed yet. So I had shut down my business ever since. Since May, pretty much everything is like up and running somehow.
That's brilliant. And so, because you need your hair and makeup for the service you give and the experience you give. So they were one of the last, I know in Ireland, they were one of the last people who could go back to work. Was it the same in Germany?
Yes, sir. And it was horrible, because imagine all those hair ladies.
I know. Look at me. Look.
Isn't it funny?
The barbers are open in Ireland, but I've refused to go. I said to Susan, I am not going near a barber or a hairdresser until there's a vaccine.
I feel like you really can wear that long hair. I like it. It looks good on you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So the hair and makeup people were allowed back then in the middle of May.
But the hair people were allowed even a week earlier than the makeup people. That's the funny thing, because I mean, well, they are all around the face and the head. So, it wouldn't have made sense to open my business earlier anyways, because all of the ladies that had booked with me, they first wanted to see the hairdresser, of course. So I was totally fine with that.
Yes, and I know the hairdressers in Ireland, some of them were opening 24 hours a day. There was such demand. So tell me this then. So you were fully booked up to having to close down due to the pandemic, right?
Exactly.
So was your clients understanding of that, and were they willing to move the appointments out further for when you were open again, or how did that go?
Well, I'm very fortunate with my clientele. So thank you, people out there. It's like literally I contacted them. We were like watching very closely how the pandemic progressed, and we're like in a constant like back and forth how to proceed. And it was like literally from week to week that I contacted my clients to see how the situation was. And when the total lockdown came, I asked them if they would be okay if we would push back their appointment to a later date when we would be allowed to open up again. And they were super understanding. I mean, they could have said, well, no, I'll cancel my session for some reasons, which would have been fine and I would have understood, but it would, of course, have hurt my business. But really, literally, all of them were like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy that you're doing that, and I will wait until you're open up again. And well, for that reason, I'm super, super thankful for my clientele. You're amazing people.
So that's brilliant. So so your clients then, how have they, because after lockdown I'm hearing different things. Hearing that some people are just too nervous to do anything and they're being really, really cautious, and then other people, you know, want to celebrate themselves and the relationships they've had, and they're wanting to celebrate that in photography and photographic experiences and everything that you bring to that. What are you seeing? Are you seeing your clients, you know, really excited being able to now do what they had to put off earlier?
Well, they're all super excited. I mean, in the very beginning, when we opened up again, there were a couple of clients that wanted to push back even a little further, especially since I had a couple of elderly people. I was totally fine with that. So I would have asked them if we can postpone it just a little, just for safety purposes. And most of them are like, literally, they can't wait for that session to happen, because it's really something they are looking forward to. When we had our style consultation, they're like leaving my studio, and well, we can't hug because I'm like a hugger, but we are like, you know, like the virtual hug. And they're like, I'm so excited for my session. I said, oh, me too, you know. And that's how they leave the studio, with like a positive mindset and something to look forward to, even in such a crazy time that we live in right now. So I feel like that is something beneficial, that I can give all my clients, something to look forward to and to celebrate themselves, even if we can't have big celebrations with other friends and stuff like that. Well, just let's celebrate individually.
That's brilliant. That's amazing. So Ines, I've been in your beautiful studio. Now it's an amazing studio. Just remind us of the size of your studio.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like a loft studio on an industrial area that was completely renewed. And my studio is 145. It's not. What's that called?
Square meters, is it? 145 square meters, which is about it's about 1,600 square feet for
Yes,
American euros.
exactly. I'm always mixing up those two terms in English. Exactly. So it's a lot of natural, beautiful, natural, God-given light in there. And I have built in like a huge changing area for my clients, and a makeup station for my hair and makeup girls, in like a little, yeah, well, reclining area for, well, when we had several people in, which we don't have right now. They had kind of like a little seating area, and well, it's my happy place still after 3 years. It's kind of like each and every day I walk in, it's kind of like, well, hello, beautiful place. It's just a beautiful energy and light, and it just makes my heart happy being there.
Because I remember going over, and my lovely wife Susan was with us, and you made us feel so welcome, and it was such an honor to be at the opening of the studio. But I remember walking around and I'm going, wow, she is so brave. Because I felt that, you know, most studios I've been in that are of your size, it's where people have been in business for a long time and they started with a smaller studio and then got a slightly bigger studio and then got a bigger studio and still aren't at your size starting out in Germany. Now, I know you weren't starting out in the photography business, and we get that in a second. But you know, a lot of people mightn't get, especially our American viewers, in that photography in Europe can be a little bit different. It doesn't mean you cannot create a successful business because you're just showing how you can. But you were very much a pioneer in Germany in the photography business in what you were doing. Can you just tell a little bit for our viewers as to, you know, what photography was like in Germany, and then we can discuss how you've changed that.
Well, I'm not quite sure if I have changed it. I have changed it for me, at least. There are, of course, photography studios around Germany, like bigger, smaller ones, and everything in between. I guess that the way I'm doing it is just pretty unique, because it is very special. Like, I don't have those, how do you say that in English, where people just can walk in, like walk-in clients, I guess is the right
Yes.
word for it. I just don't have that. So most of the studios are relying on walk-in clients and doing all those, you know, for passport photos and stuff like that, and business headshots and things. And I don't have that at all. I get a lot of calls because people Google me, of course, and they give me a call. Are you doing passport photos? I said, oh, well, no, sorry. um, and I think that's just quite a huge difference to the regular photography studio that you will find in Germany. So it's like very unique and special treatment for each and every client. And you won't find me in the studio if we don't have an appointment. So you won't even come into the studio if we haven't had a conversation through email or phone, or if you haven't booked your appointment online to see me in the studio. And I think that is just something that is completely different to a regular photography studio, which would make it just that experience that it is.
Yeah, because I noticed that when I was walking around your beautiful city when I was there, and I noticed that a lot of the photography studios, they did exactly what you said. It was nearly a walk-in, and you could book them for your wedding, or you could do a portrait, or you could get your passport, and it was very much a retail environment.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
that was sort of, is that typical of how the German photography market is structured?
Well, I wouldn't say it's typical. It's sort of, you have that, well, you have a lot of those kind of studios, of course, because there is a need of those studios, of course. But there are quite some wedding photographers that just don't have a studio. You know, they are just on location, and you can book them online or through referral or stuff like that. So I would say, well, eventually it's typical.
Yes, 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 yes. Because like in Ireland, we don't have really that. You know, there's the odd one here and there, but most portrait studios are not high street studios.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've moved home, or they have a studio out the back, and a lot of the UK is structured that way as well. There's the exception, but I noticed in Germany that nearly every corner I went around, there was one of these retail photographic studio type setups. And because I don't speak German, worse on me, that I couldn't read all of it and understand it, but I was trying to put two and two together and
Yeah.
whether I was getting four or getting the right answer. So hence the question.
Yeah,
So
well, it is, I would say that just those studios, they have to push through with volume. So that's how, because you need to have a lot of people coming in and book with you, either for passport photos or stuff like that, or family portraits or whatever. And they just need to have a lot of people coming in. at that price range that they are. So that's, I think, just the difference between their studio and mine, I guess.
Very good. Right, let's go back in time, right? So when did you come back to Germany? It's about 2.5 years ago, is it?
It was summer 2017. It's 3
Summer
years now.
2017.
Time's
Okay.
flying, it's
So,
crazy.
so before that then, you were in Alabama, right? In the
Yes,
US.
sir. Roll Tide.
So how long were you in Alabama for?
We have been living in Alabama for pretty much exactly 3 years. So we lived in Tuscaloosa. It's a huge university town. So roll tide, people. um, and well, the first 1.5 years, I was like literally adjusting to the American dream, I guess. And photography was never sort of something that I thought of doing business with back then. Now I'm here.
So to get into that then, so how did you get into the photography business in Alabama? Did you always have an interest in photography, or how did that come about?
Well, I was always interested in photography, and ever since I got my first digital camera, which was way before the first kid came. But to be honest, my photography business started out of fear. So don't laugh. It started out of fear of IRS, because I didn't want to get in trouble with them, because no one wants to get in trouble with IRS in the States.
No.
And I was just like, okay, people, I'm gonna do a legal business now, so nobody can kind of like screw with me. Because I got inquiries, because people saw my photography on Facebook, and it's kind of like, well, the people knew me from school, like, oh, that's the crazy German, and well, we connected very quickly and easily. So they followed me on Facebook. They saw the pictures I took of my kids. They saw the pictures that I took for my friends, and they started inquiring. And I said, well, okay, before I take your money, I need to get that as a legal business, so I'm fine with IRS. And that's how my photography business started back then. Sad but true.
So what were you photographing then? Was it high school seniors and our sports or family, or was there a particular at that time of genre of photography that you were concentrating on, or were you doing weddings, or how did you?
Well, literally, when I started that, which was September 2015, I was photographing literally everything. I was doing events, I was doing sports, I was doing families, extended families, I was doing high school seniors, and well, I even was at a wedding. So ask me, name it, I've done it all. And interestingly enough, every time that I photographed a family, when I was booked for family sessions, it was always mom that said, oh, well, I'm not photogenic enough. Just take the kids and I'll step back. And for some reason, I still was able to kind of get really amazing portraits of mom, which even mom liked. And well, that was like the ignite spark that somehow made me do research online, of course, that there must be a genre that is specifically for women, but has nothing to do with fashion or editorial, because those genres work with models. But I wanted to work with real women. So that was just something that I felt like there must be something. And in different Facebook groups, I asked around, and one group pointed to Sue Bryce, which is my mentor. And that's how my story began. So
Very good. So talk to us about that journey then. So, because Sue Bryce is one of the great leaders in our industry. So you found her in Facebook groups and all that, and then you started to follow her and do her education and learn how to do what she teaches so many
exactly.
photographers to do.
Yeah. Well, when I did legalize my business, it back then was Ines Schaefer Photography. And then in November or late October, I can't remember, I was appointed to Sue Bryce Education. It back then was in bed with Sue. And I thought, oh, interesting. So, and I lurked around in the group and soaked up all of the information that I could get. And I was literally the lurker in all of those groups. Like, I didn't say a word. I was just kind of like picking all the information and writing notes and kind of like trying to wrap my mind around what those people are telling. And it was like mind blowing. And I thought, well, but if they are doing it, then I should try it at least before I put it off. And I then subscribed with 28 days, I guess, was that program. And I was like binge watching all those videos and making notes and like really trying to get every information together that I needed and to adjust it to my abilities and to my sources that I could get. And as of January 2016, I completely rebranded and I kind of like skipped all of the events and sports and families and not what and rebranded into Ines Schaefer Portraiture. And that's where my journey started. I asked my neighbor friend if she would sit for me so I could practice what I learned with the posing. I was doing my marketing pieces, like my flyers, and I was doing a website and all of that stuff. And I was asking other friends if they would sit for me and be my guinea pig, just so I could practice posing and selling and all of that. And well, in May 2016, I then had my first real paying client, and I was literally dying saying out my prices. But she said, yeah, let's do that. I'm looking forward to it. I'll bring my daughter. And I said, yay. And she literally walked out with like my middle package. And I was like, oh my God, she bought something at that price. That's amazing. And I thought, well, eventually it was just a good day or a lucky day. Let's try it again. And well, here I am now.
Here you are now with a studio that's 1,700 square feet or thereabouts. So, but I want to go back in time a little bit, because back to what you've just said, because the story you've told us is that even before you knew what you needed to do, you felt this connection with the woman in the family who was didn't want to be photographed, and I even think of my wife Susan, like she's camera shy and she doesn't, if there's even a selfie being done, oh no, I don't want to be in it and stuff like that. And where did that connection come from for you? Was it because you've a family and a beautiful family as well? Did you feel that way as well? Is that why you felt that connection, or are you completely different, but you recognize that, that they needed to be helped to be empowered a bit more and feel better about themselves? Or how did that come about? I'm fascinated about how this, that's your why, to empower women, but I'm always fascinated about how does that why come about, and what were the triggers for you to recognize that?
Yeah, interestingly enough, that's a really great question, because when I started that, I had no idea what it was that pulled me that much into that genre and to help women see their beauty, because I could see it and they couldn't see it. Why? Just look in the mirror and see it, and they still couldn't see it. So I photographed it and showed them. And it was literally like, it took a very long time until I really understand why that triggered me in the first place. So first of all, of course, I'm a woman myself. So I don't see in the mirror what my husband sees or what my kids see, obviously. Okay, sometimes eventually, but that's very rare. And for that reason, I know how women feel. And the next thing is that, which a little bit is my swan song, the first 10 years in the life of my kids, there's literally no picture of their mom in the million terabytes of images that we have, you know. And that is something that really makes me sad. And eventually that's why I'm so passionate about exactly doing that for women, helping them to exist in portraits, whether they are camera shy or they are not photogenic or whatever. Give me a reason. I've heard it, and still I want to help them to see their beauty and to understand that they are good enough. And that's just something that kind of like resonated with me, because that was something in my life that I did push away for a very, very long time. And eventually that's the key to that passion that I have, because I can remember that I always was told that I'm not good enough. And that's just something where I feel, well, eventually I am good enough, because I found a partner that loves me the way I am. I found amazing people around me that take me the way I am, although I'm the crazy German. And that's just something where I felt like we are good enough the way we are. And there must be a reason that I feel that strong and passionate about it. And well, eventually helping all those women to empower them with that service and that experience that we provide, it helps me to restore my soul a little bit each time. I would say that's pretty much a good reason.
Yes, no, and you know, it was evident with your conversation a little earlier that you could see that connection with, you know, you understand why you're on this earth. You know, you have a mission and a vision and you know, to make, to help women feel more empowered about themselves and know themselves a little bit more. And I absolutely connect with that. So it's you know, so many people go through life without finding out their true why, you know, and it's lovely to see somebody when they have managed to connect with that. So
And you know, oh, sorry.
I'd like to deep dive into you know, that's a could be a complicated message to deliver to your potential client, right? So how did you originally go about that in America? And I'd like you to talk about America specifically before we come back to Europe, because I'd like to explore then, was there a difference in, did you have to adapt your marketing style when you came back? But if we can just think about America just first. So how did you manage to get that marketing message out there and that true why as to, you know, what you were about and the service and the experience that you were delivering and what it would mean for your clients?
Well, I good question. Huh. I would say that it was just that I spoke hard, you know, like, why do I want to do that for you? And initially the people saw the before and after. You know, the thing is with women, and I think that's just global. It might be Ireland or Belgium or France or America, or just pick a country. I would assume women in general are like very comparing themselves to the ladies they see in magazines, the ladies they see in movies, or the ladies they see next door with their business dress and super like jacked up or whatever. And we don't necessarily see that when we look in the mirror. And it was like from the very beginning, I really asked my clients if they would allow me to take a before picture, like not to show the world how ugly they are, no way, but just like a before picture, how we are in our everyday life. Because what I'm trying to do is to show everybody the best version of them. And to make that clear is like the best marketing tool ever. And that's what initially started my business in the States back then, because like I said, the first 1.5 years I had no business there. So I was just like the crazy German, and I was very active in school activities and connecting with the parents and stuff like that. So I was well known for the crazy German. And then they started seeing what I did with those women that were my guinea pigs, like, having them in beautiful dresses, have them put on makeup and hair, which I did myself by that back then, and having them in flattering poses and lit beautifully, and seeing that difference between the everyday woman and the glamour woman was just like the best marketing tool ever. And to show them and to tell them the way you are perfect and you are beautiful and you are good enough. You don't need to lose 10 pounds to exist in beautiful portraits. You don't need to do more sports or to do dieting or whatever. Just come and see me and let me transform you in the most beautiful way and show you how your best version looks like. And that was literally how it all started, because like I said in the beginning, it was the neighbor, and it was the wife from the football coach, and we are close friends by now. And she was just like, oh, I'll just let me be your Alabamian sister, because I don't have siblings, and she has three, so they are three sisters, and I'll take a fourth. And I said, okay, and just let's do that. And it was like literally a transformation, which awed the entire community, and that's how it all started running at some point.
So did you do the full wall reveal and all that? So when the client comes back for the IPS session, that you play your slideshow to music and then you have the images printed? Is that what you did?
Yes. Well, I didn't do that before I rebranded into Ines Schaefer Portraiture. Before that, I had like IPS, but with the slideshow on TV. And when I rebranded, I immediately started doing IPS with a printed reveal, just because, I said earlier, I'm a hugger, which means I'm a very person that needs to touch everything. And I would say there are a lot of people out there that are the same way. So not just looking, but also hugging that stuff and feeling it and smelling it and all of that. So I instantly started, even with the very first portfolio building client, to have that printed reveal. Well, I didn't have a wall back then. I just had them laid out on my table. And I have a phone snap that I did when she came and saw her beautiful portraits. And that tells so much, because she was like literally standing in front of the table and didn't dare to touch those photographs. She was like literally, she had her hands in her back and was looking at them and was like, oh, is that me? Oh my God, is that me? And it was just, I can't even describe that feeling when I saw that happening, that she almost cried seeing herself that way. And I encouraged her, you can touch them and you can pick them up and have a closer look. And she loved each of her photographs. And that was, for me, that moment where I decided I just want to do printed reveal, just because of that. Because I still did show them a slideshow in front of the printed reveal, but they back then in the States, I had my TV in a different room, because I had a home studio back then. And on my big table, the other room, I had laid out all those prints. So they didn't know what was coming, and they were already crying with the video. And I thought, oh, interesting, what's going to happen now? So I walked them to the other room and they saw all those prints, and it was just like magic happening again.
So there's a couple of things I want to touch on there. And one is, so your sales process was very much around slideshow to music and then the print reveal. And even though you didn't have the wall, you're able to lay it out. And that's the beauty about it. You can bring it anywhere, right? So even if you don't have a studio and you go and visit your client's home, you can bring it with you. And you can just ask for a couple of moments to lay it all out. But did you find then that because they connected with the item and it was them, that they didn't want to give any of them back to you, that they wanted to take them all?
It was literally like, give it to me, give it to me. No, I want to have it. It's like literally once they touch it and they see it and they feel it, it's like they really want to have it. Of course, it's always like the financial place that you need to talk about, but usually it is really like literally they just want to have those portraits. And even if you don't have a studio, and you don't even need to ask to have a moment and to have it laid out on a table. You could just, well, I'm working with folio boxes, by the way, so you could literally even meet in a cafe and have that box filled with those portraits with you and have it placed in front of your client and let them pick out each portrait. It's like literally they touch every single portrait, and I guarantee you they don't want to put it down back again, because that connection is instantly, it brings them back to the beautiful day that they spent in the studio, the energy around them, like with all the hair and makeup and the stylist looking after the clothes, and like that feeling they had during the photo session. It all comes back again that moment they pick up those photographs. And that is just the magic and the beauty about a printed reveal, for me at least. And my clients.
And how do you handle the digital file then? So do you bundle the digital file when they buy it in print, or how did you handle that?
Exactly, that's how I do it. I know there are different ways. I decided for myself, the portraits that they purchase, they get the digital file as well. So there's no difference. Even if they would ask me to have the digital file, it's still the same price, because well, that's how I worked it out for myself. And either way, if they ask for the digital file, they get the print on top. And if they ask for the print, they get the digital file on top. So either way
So
around.
it's can't have one without the other.
True.
So did you go on to sell wall art then, or did you was that part of your sales process then, that after they bought the folio box and images that you would try and sell some wall art, or how did that work?
Yes, I sold pretty a lot of wall arts in the States, to be honest. So I'm personally a huge fan of metal prints, just because of what I promised to my clients, like, you know, the high, how do you call it? High glossy magazines like Vanity Fair, Vogue and stuff like that. And metal prints for me just transport this because they are high gloss as well. But I had also a lot of like canvases that I sold, or even framed prints back in the States, just because it was like a nice add-on that you could entice the client to buy more, or to ask them, do you want to have like a new big piece in your home, stuff like that. So well, yeah, I did sell quite some wall art in the States.
So at the reveal, they can obviously leave that day at the IPS session. They can leave with that product, and then you would follow on then with the wall art later on. Is that how that works?
Exactly. So usually, well, it works a little bit differently here in Germany, but in the States,
We'll come to Germany in a second, because I
yeah,
want to do
yeah,
the States and then Germany,
it's
and then
like
see what the difference is.
the client gets the products as soon as they well, paid for it. So usually in the States, they fill out a check or they swipe the card. And that moment it was theirs. And they got the prints right with them home. If they purchased wall art, well, obviously I had to order that, and I would deliver it the moment it came in. So that's usually exactly how it works. So of course there were a couple of clients that wanted to have like payment plans, so they would get their prints and products the moment the last payment was finalized, and I would deliver to them.
Okay, so I hear this all the time in Europe and in Britain and other places. That stuff only works in America. It doesn't work in Europe. And you are one of the living proof that that's not true. But when you came back to Germany, was there anyone else close to you offering this service? Or were you a pioneer?
I'm not quite sure. I know there are in my area quite some Subrise education follower that have access to the exact same program and tools and information that I have. But I know that nobody does it the way I do it. And most certainly not at that price range that I do it. So I would say yes, concerning that, I would be or was a pioneer in my area. And well, I encourage the other photographers that I connected with to adjust their pricing just to kind of like level up a little bit and to help our industry to get back to that value that photography is, in fact. So that's kind of where I feel myself a little bit as pioneer as well, to help other photographers as well to see the value behind what we are doing and to charge in equal exchange for that.
So did you have to, if we get back to, so you connected with the woman in the US and you could see, you know, that they needed to be empowered and feel better about themselves, and you could deliver that for them with an experience. When you came back to Germany, was it the same, or were the women in Germany different than the American women with regards to that need?
Well, I would say there is no difference in regards of the need or not, because I mean, tell me one person on the world that wouldn't want to have empowerment. So that said, I would say there's not really a difference. Of course, there is a difference in mentality. So the German people, I would say, are mostly not that open about themselves how American people are. So it would take a little longer for them eventually to connect with you well. But I think that's also sort of personality that works into all of that. So I didn't have a lot of problems to connect with people, well, all over the world. So it's sort of it's a different place that I'm talking from, because I would say it's like literally what you make out of it. So it's a mindset that you have, and it doesn't make a difference if you do that in America or do it in Germany or do it in any other place on the world. That's just my thinking, but it helps a lot to connect with the people and help them understand what you're doing. Of course. Well, it was a little bit adjustment because, well, my marketing was all laid out in English, and find your inner beauty sounds super nice and sleek, but if you translate that to German, it kind of like finde deine innere Schönheit. Yikes, no.
Okay.
Not that much. It's kind of like, I don't know.
So you've hit on a whole load of great advice there. So one of the things you've talked about is, you know, mindset, and we see this all the time, that you can self-reinforce and convince yourself that it's not possible. So you've got to have that go do it, an open mindset, and say, I can make this happen. And then the second thing you've touched on is that the basic human need is the same regardless of where the people are from. Just there's some cultural differences that you may need to adjust your message a little bit, or your language, just to be aware of those cultural differences. So
yeah.
So talk to me then about, was the reaction of your clients in Germany to the print reveal and the process any different than you got in America?
No difference at all. I just had this week a reveal, and I do a video reel. It's kind of like literally a behind the scenes from that day, from the shooting, like from the getting ready, hair and makeup, and from the shooting itself, and combine that with a slideshow of the portraits at the end. And then I make them put on gloves and have them walk with me in front of the reveal wall, which I have covered with curtains. And then I welcome them a second time to their reveal party and open up the curtains. And well, it's just like magic happening there. Even here in Germany, people are like, the ladies, they are from all the emotions that you can imagine, like from looking at it and not moving at all, from kind of like starting to cry. Well, the first cry usually is already during the video, because they can't believe what they see. And then the second cry is when they stand in front of their images, and kind of like can't handle it. And there is no difference. There is literally no difference in the behavior of people standing in front of their reveal wall and just facing their own beauty. It's the most magical happening ever.
And do they tend to bring their partners with them, or do you encourage them, if they have a partner, to bring their partner with them, or do you encourage them not to bring their partner with them? Or how do you go about that?
Well, I always encourage them to bring someone, because I personally feel like that is the moment, the second moment that we celebrate the client. And I encourage them to bring either their best friend or their mom or their sister or daughter or partner or best friend or all of them. So I had it happening that they came all by themselves, but also had reveal parties where there was a party of 10, which, I mean, I love both of it. It's kind of like a different energy, I guess. The moment when you have people around you and they see the pictures as well as yourself, and they start, ooh, it's kind of like, that is such an empowering moment, that they are like, oh my gosh, what's happening here? And I encourage them to bring someone. Some do, some don't. I take all of it, and all of it has kind of like a different energy to it, but in the end it's still the same. It's them seeing themselves in a different way.
And does it tend to affect the sale in any way, the value of the sale, whether there are other people there or not, and who's there?
Well, when you have people that are not educated on the pricing, it could kill the sale, yes. But on the other side, when they bring in more people, I always try to at least introduce myself, because most of them don't know at all what's gonna happen and where they are at all. They come in and like, oh my God. So one of the clients even did like a, how do you say that? Like a prank, and she told her friends that they're gonna be photographed that evening. They were like, oh my God. which didn't happen obviously, but that's the moments when I try to introduce myself and what my why is and what I'm specialized in, to kind of give them a little idea. And then obviously that video helps as well to see what's going on and what all comes into that process. And it kind of like gets the idea, because afterwards we talk as well, and they start realizing the value of that, because they see their friends obviously like beaming all over and feeling empowered and encouraged, and kind of like literally walking out like taller than they came in, you know. And that is something that really brought in new clients as well, because they saw what happened there, and they saw their friend in such a beautiful way, and they said, oh my gosh, I'm so unphotogenic, I need to have my own pictures taken to look good, you know. And I mean, it can potentially kill a sale, of course, but it also can bring in new clients, so it's a win-win.
So I think what you're saying to me is that you also get a lot of referral clients, right? So your clients that you have, that they're so delighted that they become raving fans,
Yes.
and they do a lot of marketing for you. Are you finding that to be the case?
Yes, I totally do. In case I have like a referral program as well, because what really works best, we know it all, is referrals, is raving clients that had that experience and loved the experience and tell everybody about that experience. So I'm really going that route, that each client that brings in new clients gets print credits towards their own prints. So if they want to kind of like collect credits, vouchers, how do you say that? They can either do a new photo session or purchase more images that they didn't buy for some reason, or get new wall art or something like that, just because I feel like I want to honor them, that they honor me, you know. And that works really great wonders, because I get quite some referrals and they refer as well. So it's just really kind of like that little running, you know what that tiny
Yes, yes.
critter.
Yes, it's a little thank you and an encouragement to
Um,
to encourage them to refer you, but they're not going to refer you unless they're absolutely sure that they've got, you know, that they themselves are so over the moon with it. Because a lot of people get that wrong, you know. They don't realize that, you know, for somebody to refer you to somebody else, they're actually placing the trust of their relationship with that person in you
mm,
as the supplier. So you know, for them to do that, the incentive on its own is not enough. No matter how much you incentivize someone who's not happy with what you've done for them, they're never going to refer you.
yeah,
So
true,
those two things have to connect together.
true. I mean, what really works well for my business is, of course, social media, because since we are content creators and post images of the clients, friends and family see them as well. And they get interested into, oh my gosh, you look so good, and look at that. And they start going back and forth with questions and going on the website and booking their initial consultation. Um, and it is just really a great tool to help your clients as well to be empowered through social media, because they get so many wonderful comments as well. I mean, who doesn't like their photographs that they are proud of, that they purchased, and then getting great comments from random people, not only family and friends, but random people commenting on their portraits and saying, wow, she looks beautiful, and yada yada. And it's just such an empowering tool that really refers itself as well.
Excellent. And there's two more things I want to deal with. Before we do that, I just want to talk a little bit about your time in Ireland. So you were at our Future Photography event, right?
Yes.
So I always ask people about this because I'm always surprised at their answer. So from your time in Ireland, what did you like most about Ireland?
Well, I can't even tell you what I like most. There are several things that I really loved about that experience. So I've never been in Ireland before. Your country is just magical, and I need to come back. And my husband is coming with me next time. So
It'd
I
be
took,
great to have Oliver. Yeah. I'd say
I already
he'd love
took
it,
that promise from him.
He'll love it. He'll love it. I know he will.
Yeah, I know. We're gonna have great fun. But what I also really loved about that Future of Photography event was connecting with the other photographers. There's nothing such powerful thing than bringing photographers into a room and share their experiences and build a community, because that's how I feel is the most powerful way to help to get the value of photography back to where it was one day. So that is just really something that I really, really loved about that entire thing. Absolutely.
Well, we can't wait to have you back in Ireland with us. When we defeat this silent enemy, we're going to throw the almighty of future photographies in Ireland. I promise you that. I promise you that. So a lot of people then, I talk to a lot of photographers about considering, doing a print reveal. Because for me, it can be part of a journey along as well. Because I know a lot of photographers now who will do a print reveal at the reveal and still go on to sell massively for the wall like you do. And it's just reversing the process a little bit, because a lot of photographers, their sales processes do digital IPS, sell for the wall, and the images that are left might go into a folio box or an album. And you've sort of flipped that on its head. And it's really interesting because I think it solves some needs for the client too, in the instant gratification. They're getting instant gratification there and then. And then I'm a sad person. Like I love studying marketing and people and what happens, and I've sat in boutiques and I've watched women flick through the clothes. I've watched my own wife do it, and I just observe what happens, and I know when Susan is shopping, she'll flick through and she'll pick something out and she's touching, she's holding it. And it'll either go straight back in, right, onto the hanger, onto the holder, or it'll go, yeah, I'm going to consider that. But once she brings it to the dressing room and she tries it on, unless it looks absolutely awful, the sale is done at that stage. And I think the same happens with the holding themselves in the matted print. They don't want to give themselves back in the same way as Susan doesn't want to give the clothes back when she has them on her,
Yeah.
So it's interesting, that psychology, but something that I would hear quite a bit. So not every time you sell every matted print, right, in the folio box at the reveal. So do you have a fear over printing prints that don't get sold? And what does the client ever say? So if I don't buy that print, what's going to happen?
Well, there is no fear of printing something that doesn't get bought, because once you have your pricing down, even if they walk out with one print, you have your margin, so you need to have your cost of goods down and to have your prices set up the right way. Of course, if you sell a portrait for $30, that's not going to pay for it.
Yes.
That said, it rarely happens that people spend 3 hours with you in the studio and walk out with one print. So there is just no fear of literally doing the entire process and giving all my heart and the entire service to each and every client, because in exchange they will purchase. And for that reason, I never questioned that. And even if clients say, if I don't buy that print, what are you going to do with that? I tell them, if you really change your mind, I keep everything that is not purchased for a year. You can come back in between a year and get more, in, for example, with the credits that you get from the referral clients, for example. And after a year passed, I just recommend see me again. Let's do new photographs. So because especially women tend to change pretty often, let it be new hair color or new cut or whatever, a new style, or I don't know, a new guy. um, let's just do a new session and bring in your family the next time, or your best friend or whatever, because usually after a year nobody comes back to get more photographs. So I'd rather do a new session with them, just to kind of like capture all those different stages of their life.
So Ines, we all are, we have different stages in life in terms of our age and stuff. And I see a lot of photographers who are tuned in to the more mature woman. Is that a market that you are attracting clients from, or?
Yes, to be honest, I started end of last year a campaign, just because I had a couple of mature clients, and they are all amazing women and role models and beautiful women. And literally, what kind of like got me thinking was, I don't know how it works in Ireland or in other countries, but here in Germany, usually in TV for advertisement, you see elderly women for oh, for like making advertisement for um, medicine products and stuff like that, which makes them seem even older than they are. And that just doesn't cover the idea or the vision or the view that I have of elderly women. So I started a campaign, 50 Women Over 50. And that was like an instant success, because that's exactly how they feel as well. And well, the plan, or the bigger vision of that project is to sensibilize, how do you say that, to show the people out there how beautiful women over 50 are, that they don't disappear on the market, whether it is on the job market or anywhere else. Women over 50 nowadays have nothing in common with the women over 50 20 30 years back. They are super strong, super confident. Not all of them, but after the session they are. And it helps them to kind of like set a message out there. And my belief is that if we show more pictures of mature women in all their beauty and strength, and all the different facets, we can help our community to understand that people over 50 are just as present as the younger ones. And eventually, the younger people wouldn't have to be that much afraid of getting older. That's just my idea of it.
That's amazing. And I know too, from the economic side of that, 80% of the wealth in the Western world is owned by people over 45. So they also have money, right?
Yeah, true. I mean, imagine that. I'm turning 44, so there's still a long way to that stage, but still I had a lot of clients over 50, and even over 60 and over 70. So the oldest client of that campaign is 48, 84. Sorry. Mixing is
That's all
also
right. The translation was fun because it's the opposite way around.
too long in Germany, see? Um, and especially that demographic, like over 50, over 60. I have a lot of clients. One especially, she's 62 and she starts all new things. And she says, like, when should I do it if not now? My time is limited, and let's just jump in and do it. And that's just exactly how I feel about it. Don't put your life off. Don't someday away your life. Just do it. And that demographic, they have reached like a status with their jobs. They raised children. Eventually, they already left home. They have survived eventually a partnership or are still in a great relationship. They have so much things that they can tell you, and they don't even need to spend one word. You just look them in the eyes and in the face, and there is so much that they can tell you, and that is just the beauty of it, I feel.
Ines, on that note, I think I just want to thank you so much for joining us. Jonathan, I absolutely agree with you. Jonathan says he loved the inspiration that you have, Ines. So, and you are absolutely an inspiration to so many. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you so much for being a dear friend of us. And we love when we have you in Dublin, and we love having you as one of our clients in 3XM. We thank you for your business too over the years. So say hello to Oliver and the boys for us. Susan and her love as well.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored.
Thank you so much for joining us. So Ines, good night to you. I know you're an hour ahead of us, so it's what? It's 8 p.m. there, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's 7 p.m. here, and there's people from all over the world at different times joining us.
Yeah.
But wherever you are, have a good night, have a good evening, have a good afternoon, or have a good morning. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you so much.